Right, The Kingsman. The Kingsman is the latest instalment in the Kingsman franchise and is actually a prequel to the previous two movies. It's directed by Matthew Vaughan and is set at the very start of the First World War in 1914. Now, the plot surrounds a secret organisation who initiate the start of the war by assassinating Franz Ferdinand. Not the band, Franz Ferdinand, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And the reason this started World War One, or the Great War as it came to be known, is it can be a little complicated. So I'm not going to go into it now. But if you don't know the reason why his death plunged the world into war, it's quite well explained in the movie by a nice little montage. But anyway, the organisation's motive for starting the war is essentially to crush England, and they set out to do this by not only starting the war, but by also using their agents to ensure Russia withdraw from the war, as well as preventing or delaying the US from joining it, which would almost certainly spell the end for England. Now, naturally, as this is all espionage, their agents, their locations, and their missions are all completely unknown to the head of England's forces, General Kitchener, who is played quite elegantly, really, by Charles Dance. However, retired soldier and now pacifist, the Duke of Oxford, played by Ralph Fiennes, understands, and has done for quite some time, really, that the best way to prevent war and save lives, as well as the best weapon in war itself, is actually intelligence. And so he's formed his own clandestine spy organisation, again with agents placed all around the world, which monitor and gather information, and they feed back to Fiennes, and he assesses it, and and decides whether or not it should be acted upon. And through this, he discovers the plans to remove Russia from the war and prevent the US from joining it, and so resolves that you have to prevent both of these things from happening. Now, if you watch this, and if you're a fan of the franchise, you remember. So you need to remember that this is telling the story of how the Kingsman Secret Service was formed, and as it's set in the very early 1900s, it's not going to have all the gadgets and the tech that's such a big part of the first two movies. It's going to naturally be missing from this because the technology simply didn't exist then. And with the first two movies, I mean, although there was a lot of violence in it. It was like sort of played out and had a feel to it, as did like the overall movie. It had a feel of almost lightheartedness, and there was a fair amount of comedy in them. But this movie, and quite rightly, I think, as its backdrop is the real historical and horrific events of the First World War, in which countless people lost their lives. It's a lot more gritty with little to no comedy in it. So if you're expecting another high-tempoed, amusing, far-fetched spy movie, you're not going to get it with this. I'm sorry, you're just not going to find it here. When it comes to direction, I think Vaughan's done a decent enough job, and he has used slow motion to good effect several times, as well as using those like long one-take scenes, which either start at a close-up, then pan out across to the major moment of the scene, and vice versa. I mean, but there are one or two moments when there are some really weird camera angles used, and to be honest, just look completely out of place and don't add anything to the scene. I mean, I'm not sure what Vaughan was aiming for with this, but whatever it was, in my opinion, I think he failed. And all the scenes that take place at the front, on the front line, didn't, I think, really capture the true horror of its reality. However, saying that, there is actually very little of the movie that takes place on the front line. So I think that maybe Vaughan did this deliberately so as to ensure that those scenes had the same feel as the rest of the movie, maybe. But there is some clever use of artistic license, using real historical people, whereby the movie includes what they did, what historically happened, but uses it and twists it to sort of say, like, this is what happened, but this is why it happened. Such as Lenin and the Bolsheviks seizing power and America's reluctance to join the war. I mean, in regards to the action scenes, they are well made with some good choreography, and there's some impressive swordsman skills by Fiennes. But unfortunately, there are fairly long breaks between the action, and for a movie that is over 2 hours long, it did seem to drag. It did seem to drag at times and sort of add to the length of the movie. And so yeah, there is action, but it's too far apart. It's too spaced out. But cast-wise, as well as Fiennes and Dance, the movie also features Gemma Arterton, Jimon Hounsel, who I think is a very, very good actor and doesn't get the credit he should do, in my opinion. And also, it features Rhys Ifans, who plays Rasputin. But I have to say, the casting of Ifans as Rasputin was a masterstroke, because when he's on scene in makeup, he looks the dead spit of Rasputin. And again, the writers have used his involvement well, and I thought it was quite imaginative the way they've tied in his legendary demise, being poisoned, shot, beaten and drowned. And there is an emotional core to the movie, being that Fiennes, is through a promise to his wife, is trying to protect his son from the war, who, like thousands of other young men at the time, were eager to join up, and serve their country, and because they believed that this was the noble and honourable thing to do, to go out to the front, which is all thanks to propaganda, really, and Fiennes does really project the feel of a concerned and protective father quite well. So overall, I think it's an okay movie. Has some clever directing involved, a decent cast who all play their parts well, some entertaining action scenes, a decent storyline and plot. And as with the other Kingsman film, there is a lot of use of the F word. It's emotional at times, but as I said, the movie is a bit too long in my opinion and does drag at times, and it doesn't really feel like a Kingsman movie, to be honest. And if you didn't know it was part of the franchise, then apart from right at the end when the organisation is formed, you wouldn't. I don't think you'd guess it was either. And I think due to this, unlike the other two movies, this will probably turn out to be a watch once movie for a lot of people. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 Stay Puffs. But like I always say, this is just my opinion. Please make up your own. If you do watch it, let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, please put a like on it. And please subscribe to my channel so you can catch my other reviews. And thanks so much for watching. And I'll see you next time.